Hey guys, Doc back. As you can see, the beard's on the way back. I told you it wouldn't be gone for very long. Anyway, I picked up a new DC Comics compact edition, one that I told you I was going to pick up a while back. It's a classic, one of the best, and if you guys aren't spending $10 on this book and you've never read it before, what are you waiting for? It is Kingdom Come by Mark Waid and Alex Ross. Again, this DC Comics compact series. Let's see. Alright, here's one I'm going to talk about in a future video. The Incredible Hulk, issue number 24, by artwork by Johnny Romita Jr. So this gives you an idea right here of how compact the compact comics are. But I've got to say, after buying the Daredevil Born Again setup in the Marvel Premiere books that are in this same format, but just a little bit bigger and a little bit more expensive, these books win out. Why? Because they're the same size as your manga books that you might be putting on your shelf. It's kind of like back in the day when you had steel books and you had regular DVD boxes. You had some that came in like a sleeve, almost like a little booklet, and then you had some that came in these really prestige steel boxes. They're not all the same. So if you try to put all your DVDs or Blu-rays through the shelf, they're all going to look just a little bit different because they're not the same. These are uniform. The Batman Hush one that I've got is the same size, same, everything. So you've got the spine right there with Kingdom Come Superman. And you've got this awesome fight being detailed on the back. So they list this as fantasy. I don't know, I would just list it as nothing. As goodness. That's what I would list it as. Now, I will say, this feels like it's got a newsprint type of paper, more so than a lustrous and flashy something. But the artwork is what you're coming for, folks. This is what you're here for. In case you've never read this before, I'm not going to spoil everything about it. But it's the story of Norman McKay. And Norman McKay is living in a world where superheroics are not as black and white as they once were. Instead, they are many, many, many shades of gray. And Superman is nowhere to be found at the beginning of this story because he ran away after a really terrible accident happened right in the breadbasket of America, which, as we know from his origin, is always going to be very important to him. But he ran away so that he wouldn't have to face his nemesis. Now, if you've read comics for a little while, you remember that Alex Ross absolutely had a mad-on for Cable and all of the guys back in the 90s that wore, 732 pouches. Liefeld himself actually made the pouch as a character, and it was just a big giant guy made up of all of these shoulder pouches and fanny pack pouches and all of those different pouches. So he's able to laugh at himself, but Alex Ross at that time was not laughing. He thought this was dead serious, and between the story that Mark Waid wrote and the Alex Ross artwork, it's absolutely just gangbusters. Let me see if I can find something that really just stands out here. First of all, you open on this. Now, Alex Ross himself has said that he hasn't tried to emulate the Norman Rockwell style of photorealistic painting, but buddy, you could definitely get one past me then. Because to me, that looks like a picture of somebody. It's his father, who has since passed. But the realism of these pages, of the painting, and just because you've got smaller pages doesn't mean that you miss out on any of the detail. Now, the only detail you're missing out on is as you get older, it'll be harder to pick out all the Easter eggs that you could find easily in a oversized format book like this. You got 666, one of the anti-heroes of the new generation. This is one of the best stories that DC ever put out. Hands down. You've got Wonder Woman, you've got Superman, or Kal as he refers to be called. You've got Batman, of course. It's just the makings of, it's right up there with Dark Knight Returns, with Watchmen. It's right up there with all of that stuff. It's one of the greatest DC miniseries that they ever put out. Because it's kind of like Earth X, which was also an Alex Ross thing, although he didn't paint it. They had John Paul Leon on the first miniseries as the artist, and then Doug Braithwaite picked up for, you had Earth X, then you had Universe X, and then Paradise X. So they were both brainchildren of a somewhat dark future that Marvel or DC could live through. You get to see Green Lantern, who is Alan Scott, not Hal Jordan. You get to see Supes back in action. You got Red Robin, who took, the mantle. So he's half Batman and half Robin. It doesn't stay flat very much, folks, but there's my boy. There's the Spectre right there. And he always has this ethereal glow around him. But the point I'm trying to make is this is not an initial assessment book like the one that I talked about, Hush. Instead, this is a highest recommendation that if you have never read this story, again, it is $10 American, $13.50 Canadian. If you haven't read it, what are you waiting for? You will love it. I guarantee it, because it is one of the most humanistic tales. And I don't know if you remember me talking about it in previous videos, but I've always been a Marvel guy because I just feel like Marvel is more relatable than the DC superheroes generally are. I would most definitely say this humanizes all of these characters very, very much. And I just love it. Because, oh, by the way, see who you've got at the bottom of the table when you flip it over? You've got Batman, you've got Shazam, Green Arrow. You've got all of these characters that are going against Superman and his reformed Justice League. So do yourself a favor, guys. Go out here and go pick this DC Compact Comics series book up. Kingdom Come by Mark Waid and Alex Ross. It is all of, I don't even know how many pages it is. I'll have to go back and look at it. But it's one of the thinner volumes, oddly enough. And to go back and say one more thing about this, I like this series better even though it's cheaper, because the Premier Collection that I got, Daredevil Born Again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that book. I love it to death. And it's got supplemental artwork in the back, where this just has the straight story. There are no extras. There are no special features, nothing. It's just a straight one DVD set, from back in the day, for those of y'all that are old enough to remember that, rather than the two-disc collection that had all the special features and trailers for upcoming movies and all that. So anyway, I think I've gone on long enough about this, but do yourself a favor and go check this book out, guys. You will not be disappointed.